Welcome to Current Conversations, where we dive into inspiring stories and insights from those who are creating meaningful change in conservation and beyond. I'm Clif Briley. This is Bailey Smith, and we're both from Rivers Our Life. On this episode, we get the opportunity to talk to Chris and Erik Pallister, two of the incredible forces behind Gulf of Alaska Keeper, also known as GoAK. This Alaskan nonprofit organization is combating marine debris that plagues the magnificent and massive Alaskan coast. To start off, Erik, would you please tell listeners a little more about who you are and the amazing work of GoAK?
I'm Erik Pallister, son of Chris Pallister here. I'm a geologist by education and training, and I've been working with GoAK cleaning beaches for around 20 years, off and on. GoAK is a nonprofit that focuses on removing marine debris off remote beaches in Alaska and spends the summers out there in the field and works hard and gets it done.
So to help set the stage for really how huge this initiative is, Chris, could you tell us a little bit of background about GoAK, how this all came about, and then just how large is the Alaskan shoreline that you're trying to cover here?
We flew out to the outer coast of Onegu Island in the 1990s, and I immediately realized there's a huge problem with marine debris. I looked at all the garbage out there, which is primarily plastic garbage, and I thought, this is a toxic mess. That was my first thought. And it's got to be really bad for the biota out there. So I went back and started talking to a lot of people, and we decided we were going to try and do something about it. So we formed the folks that are now Gulf Alaska Keepers, started cleaning beaches way back. I think our first cleanup we did was in 2002 with a bunch of volunteers, and we did volunteer work for 4 years, totally 100% volunteer. We take out groups of 100 volunteers. Of course, we were working in much closer then, and we realized after 4 years that we'd only clean like 45 miles of shoreline. In Prince William Sound alone, there's 3,500 miles of shoreline. So we thought, we're going to be at this for a couple hundred years, so this is not going to work. So we decided to scale it up and make it into a professional organization, and that's what we've done over the last 20 some years. So we've been working hard at this since 2002. Our crews have cleaned 1,500 miles of shoreline now. We've taken out well over 3 million tons of plastic garbage, but it's just a drop in the bucket. Alaska's shoreline, depending on how you measure it, depends somewhere between 35 and 45,000 miles of shoreline up here. It's an amazing amount of country. It's very remote, hard to access, and the weather conditions can be horrific at times. So and not only that, we have a massive amount of marine debris. It's a staggering amount of garbage on our beaches. Some places, this project we're doing now, the garbage will be 10 to 30 tons a mile of plastic on that shoreline. So it's pretty horrendous.
Wow, that's incredible. The numbers, and over 3 million pounds of trash already. That's amazing. We had the opportunity to tell your story in Keepers of the North, one of our Rivers Our Life films. In the short film, we were able to see the collective effort it takes to keep Alaska clean. And we also explored what it would take to recycle plastic your team collects and turn it into a usable resource, which is not as easy as it might sound. Together with the help of some of our additional partners, the Center of Regenerative Design and Collaboration, or CRDC, Dow, FedEx, Pixera Global, and the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, that experiment worked. So Chris, what does it mean to GoAK to have the support of so many collaborative organizations like this?
It's absolutely essential. This problem is so huge that little organizations like ours just can't tackle it. You have to have not only the public sector working hard on it and volunteers, but you also need to have industry brought into this. The only organizations that really have the wealth and the manpower to make this work. So it's been really great. And not only that, they have the ear of policymakers, which I find very helpful. And, we're trying to move this project forward to a situation where we can do something with all this plastic. And we're getting a lot of help with that, with Dow's helping us out on it a lot, and Pixera Global, and that. and CRDC too. They're critical to this effort. So without all of these bigger partners, this project wouldn't have a chance.
It's incredible to see them all come together and use the various resources that everyone has to kind of collaborate on all of this. And I can see where it's, you know, we like to say many hands make light work, but seeing how huge this scale is in Alaska, it's really like many hands make work, because it doesn't make it light, right? It's still a huge issue that you guys are facing up there in Alaska, and it doesn't make it small, but hopefully it makes it possible. And to accomplish such large scale cleanups in such a short season, I'm sure it takes an all hands on deck approach from GoAK. And we're really excited to participate this summer, as you mentioned, with the Montague Island cleanup. Can you explain a little bit about how you organize those volunteer opportunities? What organizations are coming in to help with the logistics, and what can participants expect when spending a week with the GoAK team?
Organizing volunteers, as probably some of you know, is a big deal. Recruiting, organizing, keeping them coordinated takes an immense amount of effort. And we're going to have volunteers throughout this project on Montague Island, but we got to take them out there and house them for a week, and then we bring them back. So there's just a lot of logistics just involved with volunteers. So we have contracted with the Center for Alaska Coastal Studies and Prince William Sound Stewardship Foundation. They're both nonprofits to recruit and to coordinate all the volunteers for us. And every Friday we'll switch them out. We'll have our boat come in from Montague with volunteers and some of our crew that need a break, and then we'll go back out with another load for another week. So the volunteers are a big thing. Then you have to provide all the support for them. You have to provide fuel for the helicopters. You got to provide fuel for the boats. And there's just a lot of stuff. And you got to coordinate boats, volunteers, helicopters, barges and tugs, and all these kind of things. And I often said it's like playing a game of 3D chess. And then every once in a while, somebody comes along and kicks the table, and the pieces go flying. A big storm comes up, or boat breaks down or something, and then you're just starting all over again. So logistically, it can be a nightmare. I mean, it keeps me awake at night. And then there's the safety aspects of all this. This is not an environment that we can control. It's a very rugged beach out there, lots of big drift logs that people got to clamber around in. So there's also this safety aspect that I just worry about endlessly and keeps me awake at night. So the thing with the volunteers really makes me nervous, because they're going to be in a different environment altogether than what they're used to.
Every day you got to get everybody from the boats to the beach. That means you got to get up, you got to get everybody fed, you got to get them from the boats to the helicopters, usually using Zodiacs. We have some stuff to iron out still, but we'll go to the beach in the Zodiacs, get on the helicopter, fly up and over the island. And that's going to be how many trips with everybody?
About 3 trips every morning, 3 trips every
3 trips one way to get the crew over. Small helicopter, 4 people. So we'll get on the beach, weather permitting, of course. It can be tricky out there. Get on the beach, and then you get to work, and it's super rugged out there. Like my dad said, there's huge log jams that are super big and tall and awkward to crawl around in. So it's very physical. It's slippery. It's just rugged in general. So people got to be prepared to work hard all day in a rugged environment. The weather can be cold, can be wet. It often is very wet. So you got to have full rain gear, which doesn't mean thin Gore-Tex stuff. That's proper rubber rain gear, and be ready to get wet and cold. And you do that all day. Eat, stuff some food in your face at lunchtime. You're going to be hungry, and then get back to it and do that till 5 o'clock or so, 8-10 hour day on the beach, weather depending. And then you reverse that back to the boat. So that's a big day.
And then they got to watch behind them all the time for bears.
Oh yeah, there's bears out there. So we'll have everybody will have bear spray. We'll have a shotgun in the crew. We stay together. We make a lot of noise throughout the day. So we've encountered bears, but they're usually not, they don't come at us or anything. They keep their distance.
Sounds like fun. You ready for that, Bailey?
I thought I was really excited, Erik. You make it sound a little scary now, but No, we're really pumped to be out there with you guys this summer.
No, the thing about it is it can sound horrific and it can be pretty nasty, but boy, when the sun's out there and shining, you couldn't be in a better place. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and there's a lot of that weather, and we're starting out with a really dry year now. Maybe it'll stay that way all summer. That'd be nice.
Oh, and the bugs can be quite bad, so maybe a head net.
I was talking to Mark, our COO, who's also going to be joining us on this trip. And he mentioned this idea of type A fun and type B fun. And type A fun is like you're really enjoying it in the moment and you're having a lot of fun. But after it's done, the fun is over. And type B fun is like it might be really hard work and you might not enjoy it in the moment. But when you're done, you can look back and you can tell the story about it and you can be proud of the effort that you put in. And I'm really envisioning that all of these cleanups in Alaska, they're type B fun. Right? It might be miserable. It might be cold. It might be wet. But at the end of it, you can look back and see the incredible difference it's making and the collaborative effort that's put in. And that's really cool.
Yeah, there's over the years, we've had a tremendous crew, and they always talk about the big part about this. It makes them feel good about themselves. They're doing something good for the world, and they keep coming back year after year after year and keep doing this stuff. So you're right. It by your definition is definitely type B.
And I'd say as a volunteer there for a week, you're going to be more in the type A fun. It's once you start getting a few weeks deep, it becomes more type B. So
good to know. I have been lucky enough to spend some time in Alaska in the past, producing off-grid home building shows. And I've always been struck by, how challenging, how much more difficult things can be out there, but such a wild and beautiful place. And I'm excited to be able to contribute to keeping it that way. So can't wait. But it will test you. Alaska will test you. I think we can do a week, but we'll see how it goes. I'm sure you guys have some wild tales from your adventures out there doing this for 20 plus years. You mind sharing any of those with us?
When I think of wild tales, and when you start talking about wild tales, it's usually because it isn't going the way you want it to go. And we were heading out to Gore Point to do a project out there, and there's a big storm in the Gulf, so we holed up in a little cove in Resurrection Bay, and in the middle of the night, it was just a raging storm, and we were in a really deep spot, but we were close to cliffs, and our anchor road was virtually going straight down, so it wasn't a great deal. And we're already scared about, if we blow off our anchor, we're going to be in trouble very quickly because we weren't 100 yards off the cliff, I don't think. And in the middle of the night, pitch black, raging storm, another boat ran into us and came in sideways. They had lost their power and they were drifting. They drifted all the way from the middle of Resurrection Bay, and they came right into us sideways. And we immediately knew that we were in trouble because it's going to pull us off our anchor and we're all going to be in the rocks. And right away, our anchor started to pull. And so quick got the engines fired up, tied that boat onto the side of us. And getting out of there was absolutely terrifying because a big willow was going around, blowing the boat around in circles. Once we got the anchor up and you couldn't see where you were going, and it was really scary. And we finally got out of there, luckily, and got the guy out in the middle of Resurrection Bay and cut him loose on a big fish tender, and they picked him up and took him in. But, we were very close to being in a really, really bad situation there, and we could all lost our boats. And that guy was fortunate that when he drifted into us, he didn't miss us by 20 feet and go right into the cliff. And, so that's the kind of stuff, storms. It's usually storms when we have things that are too exciting to want to do again.
Got some big storm stories, but I'll tell a different one. We were on Kayak Island, and it's a kind of unique island in that it doesn't have much water on it, rivers or big enough streams for salmon. So there's the grizzly bears, brown bears, they scavenge on the beach. They walk the beach and they pick up whatever they can, dead whales or whatever's on the beach they can eat. So they're a little more hungry than your typical Alaska bear. And we had a group of 8 of us one day working away, and beautiful day. And we see this big brown bear male walking towards us, lumbering along, looking for food like they do. And we're like, oh, there's a bear, whatever. Kept coming. We're like, oh, weird. There's a bunch of us and it's still kind of coming. And it just kept coming. And then we all got our arms up and started screaming, and it kept coming and coming and coming. We couldn't get it to go away, yelling at it. And then it's got kind of acting weird, which isn't typical for the coastal bears, but like I said, those ones are a little hungry and they're a little more aggressive on that island. So it just kept coming at us, and we had bear spray and we had a gun, and we're like, well, if it comes to it, we're going to see if this bear spray actually works, wasn't looking forward to it, but that was the plan. Kept coming at us, just wouldn't go away. And eventually we were like, oh wait, the helicopter pilot's in the helicopter eating lunch. So let's just radio him and he'll jump in the air and shush it off, So we called him. He's like, oh shit, okay. And he fired up the helicopter and flew towards the bear and spooked it off, and we were safe. But that's part of the deal out there, bears,
I've carried bear spray a number of times, and I am glad I've never had to use it. I hope I never have to use it. I can't imagine how scary it is to have them coming towards you, and the sound isn't deterring them.
I was a little intrigued to see if the bear spray would actually work. I thought we were safe with that many people there, but it's always good to know if that stuff actually works. We didn't have to test it.
I tested some a couple of years ago on a coastal black bear. I had a spray here a couple of years ago that was coming at us. It worked.
It's good to know. I'll take your word for it and still hope that I never really have to use it.
Leave it to the professionals if we do.
Well, another animal you mentioned out there that I know a lot of people would find scary are all the bugs. And I've heard you guys might have some scientists with you during this summer studying some of the spiders and the effects of microplastics. I have a couple toddlers, so we're constantly studying spiders at home, but I'm sure this is a totally different scale that you guys are working on with scientists. And I'm curious, what does that look like?
Well, this study is using spiders basically as a proxy for birds, because if the plastic or the plastic chemicals are in spiders, it'll be in the birds. And the ornithologists we're working with is Dan Crystal from the College of William and Mary, well-known ornithologist. He's done a lot of studies on Superfund sites, and they have discovered that instead of going through the permitting to get permits to kill birds for studies, and nobody wants to kill the birds anyway, that if they just trap spiders and then analyze the spiders, it's a direct correlation to what generally in the birds, because the birds eat, almost all those birds will eat spiders. So that's the plan. So you go out at night with a flashlight and you look for their eyeballs and you pick them up, the wolf spiders. And I'm saying, I'm not sure that's going to work, Dan. Excuse me, it's light all night in Alaska. And he said, well, we got other ways of doing it. So the other thing we're going to study is sockeye salmon or salmon smolts. It might probably be silvers out there in those little coastal sloughs and estuaries there. And we'll look in them for microplastics and chemicals too. But having said that, those two studies, which are kind of combined studies, are on hold right now because they're under an EPA grant, and particularly under the climate and environmental justice stuff under the infrastructure grant, which our current president has put a hold on all that stuff. So with the chaos going in Washington, we don't know how that's all going to work out. So that's all kind of on hold right now.
That sounds like a really fascinating study about microplastics and nanoplastics. And it really highlights the importance of the work you all are doing, getting that stuff, getting it at the source, getting it out of the environment before it gets into the birds ultimately, I guess, and other animals too, of course. So I'm interested to hear how that turns out. Well, thank you guys for taking the time to talk with us today. And as this conversation comes to a close, we'd love to open it up to you, Chris or Erik, to take a moment and share with listeners how they can learn more about GoAK and get involved themselves.
Finding us on social media is not all that easy, but you can just look at goak.org, and we have a few things plastered on there. But Erik's going to upgrade that, aren't you, Erik?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll work on the website. I'm not much better at social media, to be honest. But, yeah, I think we'll get a good Instagram GoAK going and keep people informed that way and up to date. And it should be easier. I think nowadays we'll have, usually when you're out there, you didn't have any cell or internet or anything for months at a time. So pretty tough to keep that stuff updated. Now I think there's some cell coverage and there might be some internet on the boat. So we should be able to do that.
Yeah, we are, as much as I hate to say it, going to put Starlink on the boat.
regardless, we're excited and we're up for the adventure. So thanks so much again for taking the time to chat with us today. We're really pumped to be up on Montague Island this summer with you guys. And we'll be sure to include the link to the goak.org website with this episode. So whether you get social media up and running or not, people can still find the link to the website and get some updates there. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment and leave us a rating or a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach new listeners and grow our community. So thanks for your support. And if you have a topic or a guest that you'd be interested in hearing on Current Conversations, just let us know.